Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Good morning. So we were discussing about the survey techniques and the reconnaissance that you have done. You have comprehended the whole project, made an impression of the site and its potential and constraints. Then you have appointed the surveyors, skilled trained surveyors, to do the physical land survey and gives you something called base map. There are other two surveys which are also required, but not for small scale landscape projects. They are aerial survey and remotely sensed survey. Aerial survey, earlier what used to happen is the air flight used to fly at a low altitude and then the camera used to take shots from the top. The altitude was decided depending on what degree of detail that you needed, and then they used to take different shots and they were then assembled one after another, arranged, and the designer used to comprehend the situations over there in the ground. Usually the aerial survey is used for larger domain. Landscape project, interestingly, it starts with your tabletop with a potted plants and ranges to a huge large area to the region. So for larger domain of landscape projects, aerial survey was required. Nowadays aerial survey looks like what is best represented by the Google Maps that you have seen. Google Map is a true representation of the aerial survey, and in the Google Map you must have seen that if you scroll, you go down and down and further down, the height from the surface and your camera reduces and more details are seen, and then you can comprehend better. This comprehension which was given earlier by the aerial survey. In this survey what happens is, if there is an object which is obstructing the visibility of another object at the base level, lower level of that, then that particular detail is lost. In the land survey, every element's position is taken. So if the site is not too very large, then it is better that you try to comprehend this whole site with respect to your personal reconnaissance and then helped with or supported with the physical land survey. Remotely sensed survey is another one where the satellite is trying to take the image of the larger area. It's just like an example. Let me tell you, if I am thinking about the landscaping of a river estuary, riverine estuary. Suppose I have been given a project where I am supposed to plan for the landscaping of that estuarial zone. That estuary zone, if I try to go there physically, of course I would, but I cannot probably access many of those points which are very threatening or dangerous for my safety. So I will not be able to see everything. The remotely sensed survey will give me the area and their adjoining portions. Aerial survey will give more pictorial details, and then physical survey which will be done through again GPS, and that data will come to us. So for standard normal landscape project, we should fall back on reconnaissance followed by physical land survey. So you have done the survey and recorded every element. Now it leads to the analysis. Here I am putting a list of series of analysis. I have given all together. I did not animate them because you should have a very clear idea at the first shot that how many such analysis is possible. Now the question is, for a landscape project, do you have to do all these? Procedurally you should. Why you should? Because if you try to find out the actual potentials and constraints of that particular landscape project site and then measure it in the perspective of various items that you are trying to bring within, or various functions that you are trying to bring within, then all this analysis is going to help you. Let me first read out each one of them and give you a very brief idea first. Then I will show you how it is to be handled. A landscape project which you are assigned with. Look at this, again a conceptual sketch. Suppose this is your landscape project site. If you remember that when I was talking about the behavioral issues in which the people's perception is aided by the sensation, let's say visual sense, where standing at this particular point where you are likely to see something which is at a far distance. You remember in my design principles when I was talking about foreground and background, standing at this particular point, somebody is trying to view something which is far away beyond your sight. You remember the examples I have shown during the discussion on the Spanish Garden when I was showing Alhambra or General Life. That means from that particular point you look around, and Alhambra's windows were designed deliberately for the users to see the landscape around. That means you are never limited in terms of all your experiences limited by this boundary. Since you are not limited by this boundary, then what happens is you are going to see everything that is around. Now everything that is around, if I try to draw a smaller picture, this is my site, one would look around, whether clockwise or anti-clockwise. One would definitely look around and try to see what all are there beyond your sight. But at this point you are not focusing at your sight. Let's be very clear. Your analysis, this analysis, the vicinity analysis, there you are not focusing at your sight. Basically you are trying to find out everything else beyond your sight. Why you do it? Let's say the vicinity. Basically, if this is a landscape project site, you need to have more information about some more things to help this landscape project site survive or sustain. What is that? One is accessibility. In this, I think it will be appropriate if I discuss a little more on another aspects of our overall planning, landscape planning. This is the concept of 3A. For any landscape project site, if somebody is creating a landscape project for you and you are the benefactor of that, you would like to go and experience this particular landscape, first of all you have to be attracted to this. That attraction will be offered by the intrinsic characteristics of that particular landscape project site. So the first A that comes is attraction. First A. Imagine that you have heard about a landscape project which is here, whatever distance it is from your home, and you got attracted to it. It may be the information through media, it may be information from your friend, it may be information from some books, it may be information from somebody who just mentioned for publicity, whatever. The attraction has drawn your attention to this. Then the next step, the next A in this 3A concept is the accessibility. This is why I shifted from this accessibility here now. This accessibility means if you are attracted to this particular landscape site, then you must have adequate access to this particular landscape project. That access may be air access, that access may be through water channels, that access may be through roads. Through any means you should be able to have access to this. Once you have the access and you have come to experience this, if it is only few hours or few moments of experience, it's fine. But if suppose this is holding you there and it is expected that you will be spending a day or two or week or a month in this particular landscape project site for your own benefit, then I have to also think about something more beyond accessibility, and that is amenity. So what you have here is the 3A concept for a landscape project, which must have an attraction value. Who can create? You, the designer, who will create the attraction value to this. And then attraction value you have created, people are attracted, but they have to reach here. So you have to provide accessibility. And now you have to analyze. This is where the vicinity will come. I'll explain further. So accessibility has to come. After you have come within your site and then you are experiencing it, at that point I have to give you some amenity, basic amenities. That amenity is of what kind? If it is for a short duration stay, then it should be some restrooms, some sitting areas, somewhere you can also take refuge in inclement weather, some shelter, some comfort, some convenience within that. And if you have come here to stay for overnight, then I have to give you a room, safe shelter with other facilities, maybe non-landscape. So the example I have given, that I said during discussion of this, the client has come to you with a proposition of building one tourist resort, which is in an area, remote area, and the remote area where there should be amenities given, internal accessibility given, and also accessibility is there linking the other spaces to other places to your particular site. Okay, that resort you are designing, think about it. Access is there, you have given the amenities. What is now important is how do you make attractive, then your design skills start flourishing. Okay, so this 3A concept which I have mentioned over here, this is going to give you the idea about the landscape project. So when you are giving accessibility, then what happens is in terms of visibility, in terms of vicinity, you check few things. Attraction value of this particular site from outside, fine, but there could be that standing over there you have an attraction value added, not because of the things which are within, but things which are far away. Think about it this way. Listen to this example very carefully and try to visualize it. I have given you a resort site. Internally I have tried my level best to give you all comfort and nice environment, but from here you can see the Kanchenjunga hill range, Himalayan range. From any other side you may not be able to see that well, but from here you can see. Mind it, this has earned the attraction value to the tourists who would come here to see this Kanchenjunga range. That is how the attraction value comes in, gets added. So sometimes the attraction value is intrinsically created or sometimes passively created. This attraction, like say, create this with all facilities, all amenities, and then come here, we look around, you will find that the attraction value got raised. Maybe a place that I have selected where I am going to do the landscaping for that particular area, and landscaping has to be done in such a manner that I should be able to exploit the visibility of a lake which is down the hill. Imagine that situation, that on a hilltop or maybe at a higher altitude I have secured a plot property which I want to make it as a landscape project, and there if you come from there you can see a wonderful lake at the foothill. Lake is not a part of your site. Passively you are exploiting the benefits of the visibility of the lake, and your site is now going to be landscaped with an added value because of the lake, or the other example, added value because of the hill range, mountainous range, or maybe the added value because of the forest. So this is how, when you look at it, you try to understand that your whole analysis is now focused. In this, let me also clarify one more point. If I try to summarize this, if this is your project site, then there would be some elements which you are going to put, because you have that domain, this is your domain, and which will be converging all your attentions. within the site. That means you are seeing it within. That means from this corner to the rest, this corner to the rest, this point to the rest. That means it is converging in terms of its attraction. And additionally, by virtue of its position, elevation, location, visibility and all others, you are taking the passive value added because of the other elements which are not in your control. So when you are analyzing, I would suggest that don't be blind to the surroundings. Don't be blind to your limits. Rather, you will have two sets of analysis done. One set is with respect to the site and within, and this with respect to the site and outward. Okay. Now, this is how the whole thing is. So, if now I come back to the vicinity analysis, what you are doing is you are trying to find out that by this particular site how it is connected by roads. Let us say this site is connected by road from here, and this road is connected with a state highway. This state highway is connected with another urban center. In this urban center I have a railway station. From this urban center little far away I have an airstrip, and that airstrip is connected to this urban center. So automatically your vicinity analysis is now bringing in many factors which are not within your site. Let me correct. This particular site is connected by a road, the road which is connected by a state highway which is passing through another city or urban center, and the urban center which has an airport. That means this site is connected with the airport. It may not be directly connected, but this is the route. This is how you have to analyze. This is one. I am saying in terms of accessibility, in terms of other things. But another example, let me give you. This is slightly different from what I said just now. You have a project site, landscape project site, not yet designed, because this is, you are now in the analysis stage. So you did not decide what is going to come within, but you have to also compare that whether this particular site, whatever you do, is it under threat of competition? How is it? Suppose I give you additional information that you have this site which you are developing, but there is another site already existing and functioning in operation. Then you are threatened in terms of competition, that this particular site, whatever best you have to do, which should be drawing more attention of the people, outward people, than this one. Then only this one will be surviving, sustaining. Otherwise, people already know this, they are going there. You have to rather try extra hard to attract these people as well. There are two options in this, in the whole planning, and this is what comes at the analysis stage only. That is why I am saying here, you will not take time off to decide. Going to the site, if you have learned that there is another resort here nearby, people do come here, then you will first try to find out what is the strength of this particular resort, by which, or what is the attraction value of this particular resort for which people are coming. Number one, this is the market demand analysis basically. So the vicinity analysis, when you are doing, basically you are doing this. You will decide that okay, this particular site I have to design, and this is already designed by somebody which has a strong attraction value. You have to design better than this, so that the attraction gets now deviated towards your site. People were coming to this, now it is deviated towards your site. Otherwise your site will probably have to fend for users. That you can do with publicity and all that, but I am saying with respect to the landscaping, how it is to be done. So either you make it better than this, or there is another option. I think it is wiser option. You design. When you publicize, you also mention about this, that if you come to my project site, then within about half a kilometer or 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers there is another project site which you can visit. What happens now is, the user who is now trying to know about this particular site also knows now that if he comes to your site, then about 2 kilometers away there is another site which is also adding to the value of his tourism trip here. So he comes here, takes a tour here, and then comes back. This is how the whole tourism circuit is designed. Any other factors, like an example, if suppose you find out that this is my landscape site, or rather your landscape site, because you are viewing it from your end. This is your landscape site, this is another landscape site, and far away there is a water body which may not be visible from this particular site, may not be. But you are now trying to develop a link, or trying to see if there is any link. During analysis you are doing that. You are trying to find out, is there any link between this particular water body and here? One is direct visual link, another is a physical link. Is there any way, suppose I say yes, there is a road which is going like this and ultimately connecting to this. In your analysis you are going to record it very categorically. In that vicinity analysis itself, you are going to record it that this is a site which has a road which is linking this water retention dam, though not visible from here because of many other impediments in between. This is the distance up to which one can go, and in your whole planning of this you can start thinking about exploiting this because of its proximity. If suppose, this is another option, another way of looking at it, if suppose you are at a higher elevation compared to this and you have the advantage of seeing this, then there are two things now work. One is that you can have a physical connectivity with this while going from here to here, or else visual connectivity to this, double benefit that you get. So what happens is, whenever you are doing the vicinity analysis, you try to view it in such perspective, that how you are connecting visually these two. That is how the vicinity analysis probably is one of the very strong analysis which you have to do. So I will summarize this. Later on I will show you some of these slides to show how people generally represent. There is a process of doing it. I think it will be better that if I tell you the process, how we are proceeding with this analysis, and then I come back to individual analysis. But the vicinity analysis is different from the rest of the analysis that I have listed over here. Since it is different from the other analysis, because all of the analysis are within the site, corresponding to the site, limited to the site, though influenced by the others, but the vicinity analysis is an analysis of the surroundings, barring the site, leaving the site. That's why I have discussed about it. Okay, how basically you work out? I'll come back to this list. In the appraisal, see, after you have done the survey, then you have done the analysis. In the analysis, you have tried to see each and every aspect that I have listed. I'll go detail into it. After each analysis must result into an appraisal. Each analysis. I don't know how many analyses, I think 14 or 15 analyses I have listed over here. Each of the analysis must have an appraisal. What is an appraisal? Appraisal is basically inferences from your analysis. Inferences which will result into a creation of a criteria, set of criteria. Each analysis, mind it. And each criteria or a set of criteria will result into creating a checklist to do or not to do. So do's and don'ts will come here. So inferences which will be resulting into the design criteria, and that which will come to a set of checklists, and a checklist which finally you are trying to adopt in your design, and then you are deciding that whether you have complied with it or not. That brings to a kind of table which is like this. I am just holding this particular picture for a little while, okay, just to indicate. This picture is a borrowed picture, because I found this is one of the best pictures for which clarifies many of the ideas in terms of various factors. Okay. So what you do is create an appraisal template. In the appraisal template, it's nothing but a kind of drawing sheet, as if a base drawing sheet, in which we have the site, and the site where all information related to the site and their other appraisal items are listed over here. Look at this particular table very carefully. This site here, see, mind it, this particular line of the site profile is arbitrary, it's hypothetical, it's not real, hypothetical. I've just taken this hypothetical site just to give you an idea. This site diagram must have common legends, because there will be multiple such analyses. For multiple analysis, at least one set of legends which will have the information which are common to everything, in terms of, like, say, contour lines, existing contour lines, proposed contour lines, or say the thing as site boundary line, any other. So common legends will be there: water body, existing water body, the river edges, everything. So there will be set of common legends which will be existing in or present in all the analysis appraisal templates, appraisal formats, and there will be some specific legends. These specific legends will be with respect to the kind of analysis that you are doing. Let me go back. For an example, in that particular template, you remember, if suppose you are doing the land use analysis, the site diagram, the roads, the plant location of trees, if it is there as a part of the base map, or the contour lines, they will all be common. So that will remain as the specifics, sorry, not specific, common. And for land use, there will be a set of again legends which will be specific to the land use, that will not be repeated in others. So each of these analysis will have its own specific set of legends. So if I now go to that, then what will happen is you will see that common legends will remain common for everything, all the sheets, and the specific legends will be corresponding to the analysis that you are doing. After that, when you are for that specific analysis that you are doing, in that you will have a set of inferences drawn based on the information that you have got. For land use, you will get the information about the land use of whether it's residential, commercial, open lands, grazing lands, hills, water bodies, forest, reserve forest, natural forests, industry, anything. All those will become specific legends, and for the specific legends you will have also some inferences drawn, because you are analyzing the whole thing. The result of the analysis will be listed in the inference. See, mind it, I have made the columns which are very narrow. Actually, it will not be narrow, it will be pretty wide. I have just tried to show you here one after another. So if you have a common legend which is depicting all the drawings, then you will have the specific legends which will be corresponding to that analysis, and then if you have for that analysis which will be resulting to a set of inferences. This inferences you can write in the form of descriptive notations. Like say you are writing a sentence, you are writing a small paragraph, but whatever you write, it should be best depicting what your inference is. Don't try to economize on your words, number of letters, number of words, or number of sentences when you are writing inferences, because see what happens is this process is a very methodical one. If you, the designer, is analyzing this, a site, and then trying to make an appraisal report through this template, and then ultimately you don't get an opportunity to plan, but somebody else will be assigned to plan. He should be able to get all information in terms of inferences as you have analyzed, because you are also a researcher, analyst. You have analyzed, your inferences should be so discreetly, critically coined and written, so that whoever doesn't even interacting with you should be able to infer what you have written over here. This is the idea. Very, very important. Once the set of inferences that you have done for each of the inferences, for each of the inference, you will develop a set of design criteria. The design criteria that you will be developing, that criteria will now become set of design criteria, which then will result into a set of checklist which you have to use. Just a minute. Yes, each set of design criteria, then the checklist. Checklist means design criteria is going to say what kind of design parameters you are going to use, what kind of standards you are likely to use, what details you are likely to use. All these finally will result into a set of checklist, do's and don'ts. This has to be done, 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 this should not be done, this one should not be done, and this one should be modified, this one should be interpreted and then modified. So there will be a set of checklist. Then after that you are going through the design process. Once you have finished your design process, designing, then you go for compliance check. You see that this checklist, how much have you complied. So compliance level basically is a representation of how much of this checklist thing, as guided by the checklist, you could correspond to or attain or achieve. This process is so very methodical that if you do it, you will find there is no chance of making mistakes. What happens is, we the designers generally think that every information that you have got in your head, and then we are intellectual enough to retrieve it whenever necessary and ultimately design. Why should you really fall back on your memory? Why can't it be recorded over here? And why do you expect that the thing that you have inferred is going to be designed by you? The whole process is a big teamwork. Now, if I see with respect to a large landscape project, you cannot do it alone. There will be somebody who will go for reconnaissance survey, if possible you are going, if not, somebody else will do the reconnaissance survey. And then after that, you will see that inference has been drawn by, survey has been done by somebody else. The survey detail has come to your table and you have created the inferences and also worked out the design criteria. If not, left it at this particular level, another expert takes it up and he sets the design criteria. Along with the design criteria, he may also set the checklist, and along with the checklist, then now it goes to the designer, and the designer checks how much he could attend or conform to the checklist by compliance. So it's a teamwork by which it goes. So if you really look at the whole process of this particular design, you will see it is not a it's not a very simple task. It is a systematic task in which everything has been analyzed well, inferred well, discretely stated, and then the design criteria formulated and the checklist created for checking how much you could attend and all. Is that clear? Fine. In the next discussion, I'll go into the further detail of this. Thank you.